There's one mountain bike skill that gets overlooked all the time, which is crazy because it's likely one of the most useful techniques you could possibly learn. The reason why people skip learning it is because at one point it was considered bad style to do a portion of the technique. But the truth is, we need to get over it and start practicing it because it opens up a whole new world of trail riding skills for you. My name is Aaron, welcome to Super Rider. On this channel, we break down complex bike skills into easy to learn techniques so you can quickly apply it to your riding. If you've ever wanted to have the ability to ride up and over obstacles, or if you've ever needed a more consistent way to clear obstacles on the trail without using a bunny hop, today's lesson is going to give you everything you need to get it done. In the process, you're going to develop a balance point on the bike that rarely gets any attention, and you'll probably pick up a few more things as we go along too. Seriously, this skill is underrated and not terribly hard to learn. Let's get into it. The most important skill that no one practices is the standing wheelie. Why? At some point, people thought that it looked weird to do a wheelie without sitting on the seat. When it comes to standing wheelies across a parking lot like this, they might actually be right. But also, in clowning such a fundamental skill, they set back a ton of riders from developing what I believe to be one of the most important things you can do on a mountain bike. The reason why I think this technique is so important is that it does a few things that bunny hops can't do. When you're riding along and you want to ride up onto an obstacle, you might encounter bumpy or uneven terrain which would slow down your speed or throw off your balance. A bunny hop in these conditions would put you in a weird spot, or even worse, make you come up short and smash into the obstacle. The other reason why a bunny hop isn't always the best move is that to execute the move, you have to stop pedaling and even out your pedals, which basically means you take your foot off the gas and lose momentum. Again, you can come up short or lose momentum when you're on the obstacle, both things that we don't want to do. By keeping our pedals moving throughout this technique, we maintain momentum, push through uneven terrain, and put our body in a strong position to ride over any type of obstacle as we keep power on the pedals. If you can't wheelie, not to worry. We're going to quickly go through the basic standing version of this technique, which will help you get better at normal wheelies too. If you can already wheelie, the two hardest parts of this technique are pedal timing and maintaining your side-to-side balance, and that's what we're going to spend most of our time working on today. Let's start with a few quick details to get rolling. Even if you can do normal seated wheelies, watch through this part just to be sure that we're all on the same page. First, two setup things. I think you should seriously consider practicing this skill on flat pedals. Clips aren't going to give you any advantage at all with this skill, plus you could potentially loop out backwards, and you want to be able to step off the bike if that happens. Also, to keep our side-to-side balance in check, we'll be rocking our feet side-to-side on the pedal, which is impossible to do if you're clipped in. Second, I want you to make sure that your hands are as wide on the handlebars as possible, just using your index fingers to modulate the brakes. Having your hands in this position will put your index finger at the end of the brake lever, which gives you the most power and modulation with your braking. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a chance that you could start tipping backward during the wheelie motion, so we always want to make sure that we have the back brake covered. As far as bikes go, the technique is exactly the same no matter what bike you're riding. Wheel size makes no difference, suspension or hardtail, no difference. Put your bike in 4th or 5th gear, slam your seat down as far as it'll go, and let's get these standing wheelies rolling. We're going to practice the fundamentals of this skill on flat ground, and at the end of the video, I'll show you how to apply it onto an obstacle. But for now, flat ground is the place to be. The most important part of this entire skill is that we need to start with our opposite foot on the top of the pedal stroke. This is the foot that's usually in the back as you're standing on the bike with your pedals level. This is extremely important because in this technique, we want to have our strong foot come around to the top of the pedal stroke as we get into a position that needs the most stability. If you get to that position and you're standing in your opposite stance, you're not going to be in a strong position to continue with stability. But maybe we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves here. To start a standing wheelie, I want you to roll along at a slow speed on flat ground in that 4th or 5th gear, whichever you feel more comfortable in. I usually do my standard wheelies in 5th, so that's what I'm going to use here. My body weight is over the front of the bike, chest over the handlebar. When I'm ready, I'm going to bring my opposite foot to the top of the pedal stroke, then jam down on it as I quickly lean my body weight to the back of the bike. This motion of pushing down and leaning back is going to quickly bring my front wheel up. And as I keep pedaling, my strong foot will come around to the top of the pedal stroke about the same time. At this stage in the technique, I'm standing strong on the bike, ready for the next move. Because my strong foot is now forward, I feel the most stable on the back wheel. And in most cases, I'd be pushing from here up onto a ledge of some sort. But since this is our first time doing this technique, I want you just to let your front wheel drop back down. Repetition is such an important factor when it comes to learning skills. Maybe you totally nailed this move the first time, or maybe you faded to the left or to the right. Hopefully you didn't loop out. If your front wheel didn't come off the ground at all, it meant you didn't push the pedals hard and fast enough, or that the combination with your body movement wasn't substantial enough to get the front wheel off the ground. No matter what happened on your first attempt, I want you to go back and do the same thing 10 times in a row. Film yourself if you can, just to get a better sense of what your body is actually doing with the bike. See how high your front wheel comes off the ground, and see if you're moving your body just as much as you think you are. In most cases, you likely aren't, but that's okay. As you practice, if you start fading to the left or to the right, use your elbows and knees to counterbalance yourself. Look straight ahead instead of at the side you're falling. Rock your feet on the pedal side to side to push the bike where you want it to go. We're just doing a single pedal to start, so there's not too much time to go sideways. In fact, we're never really going to need to do more than one pedal standing up, so once you start feeling confident with this motion, you're most of the way there. There's a good chance that it's going to take you more than 10 tries to get comfortable and consistent with this movement. But if you could sneak a few minutes of practice in before every ride, eventually it will feel a lot more normal and you'll start adjusting to the motion. The best part is that this practice is also going to help train your back wheel balance point, and a wider comfort zone here will eventually help you with bunny hops and all sorts of other skills. When you start to feel like you're ready for the next step with the standing wheelie, I want you to see if you can extend your roll on the back wheel. As we began, we did the single standing pedal and let our front wheel drop. Now that you're locking in the movement, see if you can hold your front wheel up just a little bit longer. You'll notice that your hips play a part in holding the front wheel up in the air for an extra split second, and you'll potentially need to grab your brakes when it's time to bring it back down. The other thing you'll start playing with here is the height of your front wheel. The higher up you can bring it, the longer it'll stay in the air, which will translate to a longer roll on the back wheel. A great way to practice this is to find a line on the ground and use that line as your starting point for the pedaling motion. When you can get your back wheel to cross that line before the front wheel touches down, you're in great shape and ready to move on. Our next step is to start figuring out something that I call pedal timing. This is necessary when we ride up onto features and need to figure out when we should start pedaling with our opposite foot in order to hit everything just right. To start working on pedal timing, you'll need to find a small curb or similar sized obstacle. Roll up to it slowly and test out where you think you need to start the pedaling motion with your opposite foot. My typical rule is to start as far away from the obstacle as the height of the obstacle. So if it's a 1 foot ledge, I'll lift my front wheel about a foot away from that ledge. The best time about doing this pedal timing practice on something as small as a curb is that your wheel should roll over it with any major issues. You'll be going slow, and since it's so small, your wheel should easily roll over it. Since you're also continuing to pedal over the obstacle, it should roll even easier. Eventually, as you get into higher and higher obstacles, you'll need to throw your body weight forward and scoop your pedals to bring up the back wheel. But at this stage of practice, you're fine just rolling over it. The advanced version of this skill is sometimes referred to as a punch or a pedal up. It replaces the bunny hop on the trail in almost every single case. And you just learned all the foundational skills you need to get there. If you want to continue working on that pedal up skill, go check out this video. And don't forget, practice makes progress.